What can Bhutan do about it? Has the government taken it on board in its development plans, or is it just pressing on with its own plan as best it can and hoping that in time it will tackle the problem, but it's a little further down the road, or is it actually taking it seriously now?
Well, to be very brief, Bhutan, it's on the least developed countries list, and we had been seriously talking about all these climate change issues. Although, to talk about the awareness level, at the moment, it's very minimal. It's just amongst the educated lot, who can really talk about climate change impacts in Bhutan. But certainly the farmers, they also very slowly getting the real experiences of this change in the climate change. For instance, the simplest example is now we are having very late monsoon, which have a very negative impact on the production of cultivation of paddies and all. So that way, I feel our government, it's already in place. We are a signatory to the Kyoto Protocol. Our government is very keen in going with this climate change issue, and I think in the coming years, we look forward to really negotiate and then work for a better future.
Yeah, one of the problems about being here is after a while we all start to talk like government. When you say negative impact, that actually means reduced crop yields and people going hungry. I mean, that's what that is happening already because of the monsoon. It's not just, the monsoon's late, we've lost a few days. It does impact on production.
Yes, certainly. The point that I'm trying to make here is we cannot say although to take it on a scientific basis, it's very minimal, the knowledge on climate change. But all these evidences are faring enough for local people to realize we are actually facing with the climate change impact, and it's very important for our government, for our people to sort of make this plea to the developed countries to help us. Actually, it's not very necessary that they have to totally stop emitting there. The best way to compromise would be tech transfer, capacity building, and then financing actually in taking these conservation initiatives in the Himalayas.
Okay, bear with me while I read this long question from Anuradha. It is good to hear from different kinds of voices. That's you, thank you. Rather than the usual voices of irrational white males, that's me, who deny the scientists' findings. Thankfully, more and more people in the north are realizing how serious this is and that it's not acceptable to ruin the lives of millions of innocent families in poor communities. Okay, that's more a statement, and I hope that's true. But the follow-up here is, that's the problem. There are millions and millions of families. I'm not quite sure if I've got that question right. Okay, so there are millions and millions of families. I mean, I wonder what you do feel about this. There is... people are, I think it's true to say, in the north beginning to realize that there's a huge problem and that there's a question of injustice. It's not just climate change, but there are millions and millions of families and people who are carrying on with their lives. I just wondered what your attitudes are towards the north, who is clearly responsible for creating this problem up until this point. I mean, do you, for instance, feel angry about it, or that it's unfair, or I don't know. What's your reaction to it?
Well, my reaction, I certainly think that people understand the burden that is being put on developing countries because of these emissions of greenhouse gases. And already here, people are talking about human rights, about climate justice. Those people have gone to these developing countries and have seen the misery caused by droughts, floods. It means people going without food for 8 months. Somebody has to feed them. It means diseases. It means no revenue, because 70% of the population in these developing countries depend on rain-fed agriculture. So if there are no rains, it means the entire population is in jeopardy.
Does that mean Zambia or Bhutan or whatever country it is has to rewrite its development strategy? Do you think it needs a big change, or is it just that, well, you keep plugging on and hope that it will keep up with the problems, which is clearly going to be worse?
No, that is already realized by, for example, in my case, Zambia, it has realized that droughts and floods are causing damage to our socioeconomic development outcomes. For example, we had bridges that were just built and commissioned 2 weeks before. Then floods came and wiped out, and you see millions, we can say, going down the drain. Somebody has to find more money to come and rebuild that. So that is really felt. It's not something that people are just guessing. It's something that is felt. So they have come up with a national adaptation plan of action. And the idea of that national adaptation plan of action is to incorporate it into our development. We have a 5th national development plan. Incorporate it into there. Make development climate resilient. And that's why we want these partners, northern partners, to come and help us see the fruits of that integrated plan. Yes.
I might mention that there actually has been money made available for countries to draw up plans to deal with the problem, but in fact the average, I understand, is about $200,000, which actually is no more really than a kind of well-paid executive in a big Western company. And again, it just illustrates the disparity between resources, that, you know, one guy's salary is supposed to be equivalent to saving an entire country. So I want to do a little commercial here, not just for One Climate and this Second Life experiment and discussion, but if you want to find out a little bit more about Zambia or Bhutan or indeed many other countries and issues, if you go to One World's guides, you will find a guide to various countries. If you go to oneworld.net and look for the guides, there's a beautiful list of countries and some issues which will give you some facts and figures about, well, certainly about Zambia and Bhutan and about a majority of countries in the world. Oh, here we got Kildring Abye. Hope I'm got the name right. Bhutan is one of the most isolated and least developed nations in the world. I hope that's correct. Nonetheless, the survey from the country suggests it is also one of the happiest. I told you this is something we're all very interested in. I don't know whether you'd like to comment on that. Maybe if you're so happy, why are you so worried about climate change?
Well, in the first place, I should say, like, yes, like, till late, early 70s, like, we were isolated and we remained in isolation, but from mid-70s, we have opened up our doors to foreigners. Like, anyone can come in, but there's at least a tariff and certain formalities that needs to be filled to come in. And talking about the happiness, like, in the recent years, came up with this development philosophy called the gross national happiness, which was inspired by our 4th king, Jigme Wangchuck. And Buddhist people are really looking forward to this development philosophy, because, like, it covers everything. Like, our king is not concerned about the gross domestic product, but rather he wants to see this happiness among the citizens, so that whatever we indulge in, it's actually being inspired by the people itself.